Well, you're either in the fifth circle of hell or you've joined us for the Unlearning podcast. Here today with Karl Forehand, JD Forehand, and me, Stuart Delony. If you are here by accident, feel free to email us at theunlearningcurve.com. theunlearningcurve.com podcast at gmail.com. Sorry, this is our third session. My brain is short-circuiting in a row here. And if you were here on purpose, we'll also like to listen to you as well. And this episode, I believe, is brought to us by Floral Shirts, Taiwanese Floral Shirts. And JD, what are we going to be talking about in this sesh?
We are going to be talking about a vague thing. I don't know. I titled it "Should Dunkin Go the Way of the Dodo?" But I don't know if that's even really like the full scope of what I want to talk about. But we'll see where it goes. But just my question, something I've been kind of like struggling with recently is like, is it a worthwhile exercise to dunk on people, and is it worthwhile to, or is it more worthwhile to like be the better person and try to like be there for those kinds of people? And obviously there's a bunch of like compounding variables of like, yeah, if we're talking about like a straight up Nazi, then yeah, probably not. But like, where do we draw those lines? We talked about, Stuart, you brought this up a little bit in a previous session, because I was looking at some research trying to figure out exactly where I wanted to go with this week, and basically all the stuff I found looking at meta studies, etc., is that isolation breeds all the bad shit in society. It breeds anger, resentment, violence, extremism, all the stuff, especially that we all see in America with this extremist violence. It's usually someone who's been ostracized in some way, whether by themselves or whether whatever group has done that to them. It's not the only thing, obviously, but it is one big thing. So I don't know, I guess. So I guess what are your thoughts, or are you struggling with anything similar? Well, just initial thoughts, and then we'll kind of figure out where we're going with this exactly, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about.
So the question is, what do we do with the worst of the worst?
Not easy. No. I don't think that. I don't. Okay, I'll explain both of these. First of all, Stuart, to answer your question, I don't think it's about the worst of the worst, because I think that's easier. Is that I generally think we ignore them. I think dunking on them is fine. And to answer your question, Dad, dunking is kind of like usually used for on social media, like when someone posts something, just getting in their comments and just like tearing them apart, whether through arguments or just shit posting or whatever it is. It's just like
owning the
going
libs.
at
owning the libs.
It's owning someone. Yeah, it's like trying to own them. If you post something really good, like in their comments, or you re whatever truth or whatever dumb social media we're using, and then like own them, then you say, yeah, I just dunked on X person. It's like a posterizing dunk in basketball, right? Like you're kind of like,
so we all have to go
in front of everyone. Yeah, exactly. It's a theatrical move, right? So what I'm wondering, and then kind of to finish answering your question, Stuart, because I'm jumping around here because my brain is also fried, is that like, what do we do for the people that are on the line? Another question, where is the line? Because I don't know where it is for me. I'm friends or acquaintance with a lot of people that I think hold pretty like views that I kind of view as anathema to like what I try to live my life by. But in most cases, they're not acting on them. And in some cases, I've had influence on them of getting them to kind of back away from those things. So my question is that more worth it, or is it better for me? Is there any benefit to me going, no, fuck you, like you have bad views, so like eat shit? I don't know.
I hate in situations like this. It's one of those. It depends.
I think it's case by case, right?
Yeah. I guess it depends upon like what are those beliefs that you hold like very dear to yourself, and is being around them, is it tearing something like ethically or otherwise that is messed up? Is that messing you up ethically by being able to continue to give them platforms somewhat in your life, so to speak? But it also asks the questions, people do bad stuff. Are they just hurting themselves doing bad stuff? Like with folks struggle with addiction. Or is this stuff where they're doing bad stuff where they're hurting other people as well too? Is the person simply just an asshole that nobody likes to be around because they're an asshole, or is there more going on here? And which doesn't answer this at all.
Well, the other and then but it does raise more questions which we can keep asking, which is things like, is it a chicken or the egg thing? Like, are they an asshole because someone was an asshole to them? Most likely, probably the answer is yes. And then that's like, then are they? I mean, to some degree, this is what I tell a lot of people in my life, is that like I have certain people that I work on, like I help, like we kind of discuss like mental struggles that both of us have. But anyways, the kind of idea of you aren't like your mental illness or your mental struggles are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. And so there is some culpability in there, but there's also, it is like, you know, people get fucked up. And if there aren't the correct systems or community or whatever in place to help them get through that, then obviously you're going to have fucked up people around and they're going to hurt other people. But again, that goes back to my point of why I think it's better to try to draw those people out as opposed to push them out, excommunicate them from societal groups. Now, certainly there might be groups, for example, if the person is like a vehement sexist and you have a mixed sex group, you're probably not going to invite them, at least not until they've worked through some of those issues. So of course we have boundaries and things like that. But I think that's kind of part of it, is I want to encourage people to like interact and push people that hold these kind of what we might view as like disgusting views. And not to just like get in shit throwing contests, or not to just like totally just say, no, this person is like anathema, because I think that's dehumanizing. And I don't think that's good for that person, but I don't think it's good for us to dehumanize people either.
And for me, some of it comes down to proximity. Like where, you know, cause it's easy to like dunk on stupid shit Trump is doing, or to call that stuff out. You know, he has no proximity to me, really. And so that's
he also
more
holds
of
a position of power. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, but me dunking on it is kind of more for those that are in my own sphere, or doing that for like organizing, or just people that are pissed off. And I feel like there's a social like release valve for that to some degree, but it's not like I don't have a voice in Orange Jesus's life. So the proximity is far away, but it's different if someone is like in your life, you know, maybe someone that's a lot closer to you. The proximity is different, and I feel like you give them a little bit more, grace in the situation. But also, you also have to make sure you're keeping your own healthy boundaries for not being around toxic people that make you more toxic over time as well.
Absolutely. I think I agree with you that it's a big part. Is it doesn't it affect you negatively? Is it making you a worse person, or are you bringing them up? Sorry, Dad, I cut you off. Keep going.
Hopefully, if we're growing, I think we're kind of moving towards a place where we realize it's okay for people to disagree with us. And if you're talking about your social media page, my line in the sand has become, are you being mean? You know, are you being mean to my friends online, my social media friends? So, but are you being mean to them or not? It's really probably uncruel for us to dunk on people that are just ignorant of the topic. But it's also really hard to convince them or give them enough information to make a decision and expect them to ponder that decision and change their mind. And
it's also
JD's
really hard
to help me.
Yeah, it's really hard not to dunk on stupid ass people too. To be honest, I've gotten pretty good about not, but it's still hard.
Yeah, many times it's not an upstairs brain thing. It's more of a that seems like a threat to me, and that's why I react that way.
When you do respond to that, then you're making sure you're ensuring that every party involved is also switching on their lizard brain to just have a shit throwing contest, because no one's now engaging on a like civil, like logical level. Everyone's just like feels personally attacked, and now we're gonna just say nasty shit to each other online for a while. Which, hey, I've been there, but it
can be cathartic at times.
It can be cathartic. That's true.
It can be, and it's nice at times, but
I stick to the old comedy adage of, if you're punching up, like you're saying, Stuart, in the distance, I think if you're someone in power and at the tops of these hierarchies, absolutely. But I think we have to be more careful when we dealing with equally powerless people to ourselves.
I think something like that. We're getting back to evangelical days, but I remember I'd had a person tell me that, because I would, and it was helpful back in my own EV language. But he would tell me, he's like, "Yeah, you're not Jesus. like, you know, we're trying to bring Jesus to other people, but I mean, the idea we can't save everybody. Even though like that's evangelical language, but in certain situations, I mean, sometimes there may be other people that are better suited to speak truth or whatever into this person's life correctively than we are. And then we have to also understand, you know, there's a larger community around it. You know, if someone had been abusing me for most of my life, I don't know if it's my burden or job to really go and try to be like, we need to sit and talk about this. Your behavior is bad. No, the healthy thing is I need to get away from the situation and hope other people can help that person, because that is not my cross to bear. God, I keep using too much evangelical language, but in this, but I think, but it's us realizing that we can't save everybody, and it takes a village. Let's get more cliches going. But
I would love to hear some generalities from JD, because I would say in my life, JD has given me the most useful information to do those things. You know, where first of all, we got to realize that we didn't change our minds about things instantly. It wasn't something someone said or yelled at us, and then we go, oh, well, that's different. I accept it all. You know, it happened over time and so on. And the best you can do maybe sometimes is ask questions. But I'd like, since this is JD's segment, for him to say, here's some things that'll be very helpful if you're going to interact with other people that you disagree with.
You tell us, son.
Tell us, young man.
See, guys, I don't like doing lists of like, these are the solutions, because I don't know, it's complicated. And I think like
your elders are telling you to speak now. Go.
We'll dunk on you if you're totally wrong.
I'm not scared about. I should do this.
You threatened me with the posting, but I was crafted by it. I was molded by it. You merely adopted it.
That's what I have to say about you trying to dunk on me, Father. But I had one going off of what you were saying. I think, but now I forgot it. Point being is, I think there is some level that we have to take this on like a case by case basis. But okay, what was your question again? Let me see if I can remember this.
So one of the things would be asking questions. So
right.
Just you know, the standard debate discussion thing. What would be some other things that are important?
I think part of it, this is what I remember what I was going to say. Thank you. Is you were talking about going through basically and realizing that it took us a lot of time. I think that, but also realizing places where you screwed up in the past, where you were going through your deconstruction, or when you were like in your religion, what are the things that were hang-ups for you? And also, again, like Stuart was saying, having grace for people. That's like a word that I've been using with a lot of, especially students recently. It's like, you just got to have grace for people, and it sucks and it's not fair. And there's just times where, and that this is kind of my whole thing with this whole topic is, it sucks. And I'm not trying to like, I have to be careful about how to say this. I'm not trying to say people are like, shouldn't take care of their mental health and like guard themselves against being, you know, hurt by other people, or feeling like upset, being depressed by what other people say to them because they're being nasty or hateful or whatever. But I do think that if we really want to make some change there, it's incumbent on us, when we are able to go into those uncomfortable places and try to disrupt for positive change. But yeah, I think going back more specifically is giving people grace, knowing about like what we struggled with, and maybe being able to apply that in situations where it's applicable. Asking questions for sure, and being non-judgmental. Like we talked about earlier with the reaction to like fear and things like that in the lizard brain. You also have to, and I've done this, I think, through just talking with a lot of people with a lot of different ideas, and sometimes disgusting ideas. But you have to get away from just reacting. I think a lot, like I do that online too, where I see something, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like I have to say something. But like when you're in a conversation face to face with someone, you have to get to the point where they can kind of say whatever, and you can, if the point of it is for you to move them in the direction. Obviously, if someone says something disgusting to you, I understand everyone wanting to react in some way that's like, yeah, fuck you, like get bent or whatever. Like, and sometimes that's valid. But if the goal is to like move in some positive direction, yeah, you kind of have to be non-reactive and attempt to understand them and build trust. And the other thing is that it just takes time. You just have to be willing to dedicate a lot of time to it. But yeah, I think there's a million things we could say about it, but it's just, you have to dedicate yourself to it. You have to be mindful, non-reactive, and I don't know, kind, honestly. And I think once you have trust and things like that, then you can start to get into more of giving people pushback and things like that. But I don't know.
I like the word disruptor. I like, that idea of being a disruptor, that this is wrong, what they're believing is toxic, and it's not. Well, at least going to disrupt that and make them uncomfortable a little bit. But I don't have to win.
I think you do that through asking questions and stuff, as opposed to being incendiary.
Yeah, you don't have to be mean, and you don't have to attack their personal character and things like that. They're just ignorant of or at least in my understanding, they're ignorant. Maybe they're the holders of truth. I don't know, but I think it helps to disrupt, and that gets us to honest conversation, deep thought, all those kind of things. It's kind of like when the animal is dysregulated, they shake themselves, and it's kind of like that disruption in their normal flow of spewing what they heard and so on. So I like that. I like that concept.
On the flip side of it too, like it's you're mentioning dunking on people. I struggle, and this is, we'll discuss. I have a deeper issue. This is not our deeper issue. We
know you have deeper issues.
No, no. One thing that aggravates me to hell, but I feel like it's the Grace thing too. I'll put this as delicately as possible. When you have people that are just abject, stupid human beings, that dunk on you and feel like that they're winning.
Don't tell them that, right?
No. Not that, but at the flip side, like sometimes it's just like the grace and control not to just eviscerate back.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, I want to.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I just want to rip them 5 new ones, in this. And at some point, I'm just like, but what? But does it actually matter? And it's just going to lead me to having further dumb conversations that I just find moronic and a waste of time to begin with. So
yeah.
I think sometimes it's when to engage and just when to be like, fuck this is stupid.
And I think a lot of times, at least speaking from my personal past with when I used to engage in that, was like a lot of times it didn't feel that good after anyway, because you're not besting like an equal. You're lighting an ant on fire with a magnifying glass. Like that person isn't intelligent enough to have a serious debate, so it's not really a challenge anyway. So I don't know. There is that like drive, but I think I agree with where you seem to be going with it. With this, it's unproductive.
You also mentioned in your writing. Cathartic, though. In your writing, you mentioned kind of a connection between solitude and isolation and violent extremism. That was kind of a different subject, but what did you have to say about that?
I just think it's connected in the sense that like there's a lot of talk about like cancellation, which I don't think is really a real thing, especially for people like with power. Like I think that's kind of like a moral panic type thing. But anyway, like I think for average people, if we do kind of like when people say things that are bad, wrong, disgusting, or just that we don't like, if we do socially ostracize them, it doesn't make them come back as a better person in most cases. There are examples where that's not the case, but in most cases, if you socially isolate someone, they're going to do destructive things, antisocial things, either to themselves or to others. And that doesn't mean it's going to be like, some sort of, mass casualty event or something. But it could involve, self-harm or just bad relationships and verbal abuse in a family that leads to intergenerational trauma and things like that. Like, it's just bad. It's just, if we're trying to make the world a better place, it's not the way to go. It's, kind of how I feel about it. But point being is that I just don't think that's the solution. I think we have to find other solutions. And that doesn't always necessarily mean that you have to be buddy-buddy with some you know, asshole, but it does mean that we have to find ways to bring those people back into society, and rehabilitate them to some degree where we can at least get on the same page about basic civility or something, or basic morals and human dignity. But it's hard and it's messy and it's complicated.
I would say there's a place within spirituality for solitude and the learning to be comfortable with solitude, but you're talking about something different.
We're not talking. I think self-imposed
banishment almost. Yeah, banishment versus solitude.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, I think it's semantics, right? Like, but the point is that one of them is kind of your. I mean, but it is an important distinction to make, right? I'm not trying to trivialize that. I think it is like you have to. One of them is like you're seeking it out yourself, whereas the other one is socially imposed upon you. And I think that's very destructive for people because you lose your sense of self, your sense of face, whatever concept you want to use. But it's destructive to people to not feel part of a community. It's what we're built to do. We talk about it all the time on this podcast for a reason. Connection
and attachment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
In some ways, a self-imposed, solitude can make you more ready to have healthy interaction and attachment with others. But
you've talked about that in your books through your personal journey as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of escaping dealing with the shit that you need to deal with and then coming back and then dealing with it at home where it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. But throwing people out of church and shunning them and ostracizing them is a totally different thing that has more detrimental effects, just like you're pointing out.
And again, it's complicated.
But some of it too, sometimes if people do get their asses banished or pushed out of situations, it does give us the opportunity at times, I'm not saying every time, to kind of like check ourselves, like what, like let's ponder how did I end up here? Yeah. And so some level, like it makes me think of like having kids when you'd be like, okay, yeah, you guys are acting out, just you need to go have some time out, you chill in your room for about an hour and then we'll talk. Which is, again, it's kind of like time to regulate. I know this isn't you. Yeah,
that's the point. Is that afterwards we have the talk.
Yeah,
that's what it has. Of course, like I was saying, there are certain cases where you can't have certain people in certain spaces, and maybe you can't have them for a certain amount of time. But there has to be that sort of, hey, here's why this happened. Here's what we can do going forward to make sure that we don't have these kind of issues, and then to resolve it, and then we have progress. But if it's just isolate this person, yeah, I don't think that's effective.
Yeah, because, I mean, when Dr. Bruce Perry and people like that talk about how our brain works and so on, they have the 3 R's. And the first one is regulate. The second one is relate. And the last one is respond or something like that. So, like Stuart said, you got to calm down. But then there's the relate part. That's the second part. That relationships don't get better unless we relate. It's a relationship. It's a building of a relationship. I just wrote an article we talked about it a little bit before. We don't need God, we need people. We need relationship. But I think we also have to have comfort in solitude. And we don't things don't get better by just canceling our enemies. Dunking, owning them, whatever language you want to use. I agree.
Well, all right, so then you guys do this. Counsel me through a situation. I brought one. It's a bit dark. Some of the words in it may get us in trouble, but we use lots of other words that don't get us in trouble on here.
We're okay.
So there is a pastor that I know that was a part of the denomination that I was in.
Southern Baptist.
No, not this one. But it's gonna feel Southern Baptist with how creepy we get a little bit. So it's a guy, like, I've had literally probably at most like 4 conversations with him. Never did community, never did life, never did any of this. Maybe sat down, had coffee, had some denominational
thing. Relationship.
I mean it was cordial, it was nice, and yes, acquaintances. So it's like a year or so, dude reaches out and just wanted to get connected out of nowhere. He's like, I don't know if you've heard about what went on with me, but I'm just looking to, I just want to know that there's people out there. I think they're doing good work and praying, I want to pray for you and stuff. And so then I'm like, what? because I haven't been part of this denomination for quite a while, so I just used the Google machine, and I'm like, oh, dude went to jail for having kiddie porn.
Oh,
as they do, as many pastors oftentimes. Which you're right, Karl. Southern Baptist Convention would have totally fit this one, but they kind of have the crown in that.
Go to a different church.
And I just haven't responded. And he'll message me once a week, being like, "Oh, love what you're doing. How can I be praying for you?" and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, and again, I don't know him that well personally. I don't know the situation. And some of it is just kind of like, I was like, I'm not in a place right now where I feel like I have the grace or the space from even me health-wise to like even engage in it. And I just leave them unread week after week. And it makes me feel bad because I am one that like was always in ministry. It's just kind of like, no, nobody should be left outside. Nobody should be shunned in this way or other stuff. And part of me has just been like, the world's crazy right now. I just can't fucking deal with this. And it makes me feel bad and guilty. But then I have to try to remind myself, it's like, you've had like 4 conversations with the guy, and it's not your job to necessarily save him in this situation.
Right.
And, but I am willing to push back, tell me other things, but
what does he need though? I mean, like, we all want to be that person, right? That's why we got into ministry and so on. Is we want the story to be told that, it was a shit show. And then Stuart came to pastor here, and then everything got better, and we helped drug addicts.
Showier.
We helped the drug addicts, and we rescued the poor, and we did all these things, and we were it was such a deal, and it was so good. And so then when someone reaches out to us, that's the natural inclination. I have empathy for them, compassion, and so on. But what does he need first? He needs counseling. So maybe the response is, I heard about your incident. Are you getting some help with that? What's that like? And tell me that story first, and then we'll see if I can help you, if there's some way I can come alongside you, but I'm not in Christianity anymore so much as I was before. And I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could even just say that you just can't. You're busy. You can't deal with other people's stuff right now.
I don't have that bandwidth for
it. But I think if you were to respond with that and say like, "Hey, I appreciate your kind words. Right now, dealing with a lot of stuff. Hope you're." I don't even think you have to mention that what you saw about him or anything. I guess he brought it up. He did bring it up first, so maybe it's something that he wants to discuss. But again, if you don't have the bandwidth to do that, tell him that. Say, hey, if you're looking for resources or something, or maybe I can connect you to some other people. But
I don't think it was resources. My gut was it was some sort of community, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I'm the guy on the fringe, anyways. And that's always happened to me in ministry, to where if you're the person that kind of speaks truth and listens to people on the fringes, but at some point it's I don't know. For me, it was just like, I really like. We've never had many more conversations of this, and now like you're seeking a friend on the edges. I don't know. And for me, it was I just didn't have. I don't have the gut or the bandwidth for that right now. And I was just like, okay.
I definitely understand that.
The lie, and you talked about the lie last time in your session last episode. The lie, and I think you said it already in this session, is that we can save everybody. It was a general belief, no matter what the thing, no matter what it is, us group of 80 people that agree and act the same thing and are all white we're all white, we all believe the same, we have the same kind of level of education and all that, we've been in the same places in the world, we haven't traveled overseas much, and we're all just a local church, but we can save everybody no matter what the issue is. So belief in that magic that me, Stuart, you, Stuart, working through with the power of the Holy Spirit, do greater things than Jesus, and I can fix this guy. But what it may do is hurt you, depending on how damaged, I don't like, that's not a really good word, but depending on how damaged he is, And he's obviously pretty damaged to to do the things he did, someone can help him, but it may not
Absolutely.
be you, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is actually we don't have to get into this, but there's a big debate going on, kind of in society at large, but specifically in like abnormal psych and these kind of things, where about this specific issue is how do we deal with that? And like people who, for instance, people who have that kind of ideation but that are not offending, how do we deal with that? Because it's a big question. Like they'll have forums for those people to kind of talk to each other, but then like, so, you know, sometimes it's going really well, but it's one bad thing happens and then it's shut down. Like, but it's not first of all, not an easy subject in general.
No.
But it's also one of the most difficult. I think it is a good one to have because it's one of the hardest to have empathy and grace for. Because I mean, most people don't have any frame of reference for that headspace. But it's important if we want to fix the fucking problem, and it's a serious problem, and it's one of the reasons why every political party, every politician uses this issue as a, you know, in an attempt to swing votes, is because it galvanizes people, because it's disgusting and like offends people, and rightly so. But do we want to fix the problem? Because like clearly what we've been doing hasn't worked.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, we're talking about like what are those lines even in different cultures? Because you know what I mean. Like, where is that? You know, to where like what cannibals and kid diddlers? I mean, I don't know. Like but there's certain things that we're just like no, that make us uncomfortable. That need professionals, but also that society as a large does not know how to functionally deal with this.
I would like to hear stories. I mean, like, I don't know if this makes any sense. But,
what kind of stories, Karl?
Hear me out.
Elaborate before you get in trouble here.
Yeah, hear me out.
If the episode ends abruptly, you guys will know why.
So women have told us for a couple of years now, listen to our stories, read the books. And a couple of months ago, I read Tia Levin's book and then another friend of ours, Leona's story, back to back. And I'm like curled up in the chair reading these stories, you know, and weeping and so on. But the only stories I hear from the mouth of abusers, and like sexual abusers, child abusers, marital, you know, whatever that is, when high control, all that stuff. The only stories I hear from them is their immediate stories where they're trying to manipulate their wife. And, you know, explaining this, but I've never heard one that said, this is what I dealt with as a child. This is how it affected me. The closest thing I have is the shack, you know, where he kind of portrays that of this is what happened to me as a kid. And that's why.
The Shack, the Christian book, not your time in a shack, but keep going.
Right. Yeah. The Shack, the novel was kind of really instructive of that. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, we don't know that story.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that'll get you ousted in a Baptist church is real serious sexual misconduct. And sometimes it's you just move to another church. But that's about the only thing that can get you. I mean, you can be abusive. You can have doctrines that hurt women and children. But that's the only thing. But then you don't get to hear the story because it's either they're in or they're out. It's never, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's spend some time with them and understand what they're going through and quit spiritualizing everything and really understand the mental issues at play. And maybe we caused it, because that's the fear. Maybe we caused it, and society and religion caused it, but we don't want to discover that, I don't think, very badly.
Of course. Yeah, of course not.
I think some of, and tell me that I'm wrong here, but some of like, at least in our own lives and journeys, like some of wisdom is just realizing like we can go down many different paths, even if we find them like interesting intellectually or otherwise, or even like empathetically. But some of it is like, are these paths the right paths for us where we're right now? Or is somebody else, like, is this somebody else's path to take as well in doing this? And it may not be my path right now, but maybe it is in 10 years. I don't know. But yeah, I think it goes back to that. We can't save everybody, but it doesn't mean everybody can't be saved.
For sure.
In
And also that we have to, like, to the point you were just making, is that we have to constantly reevaluate, like we were talking about earlier. It's never, there's never a finished, and that's not, it doesn't feel good, because we all want like a nice sound bow on top of, you know, our situation, but it's a constant that you're always, it's like a building. You're going to always have to be doing revisions and upgrades and things like that. Hopefully not shitty ones like knocking down the east wing of the White House. Anyway, we won't get off on that. Yeah. But yeah, you gotta constantly be throwing up the scaffolding and fixing the parts that are broken. And I think sometimes you will find out that you know, you can. Oh, I wasn't ready to help this person before, or deal with this situation before, but maybe I am now.
That's good.
And the only way to true healing is releasing the Epstein files.
That's right.
Indeed.
Co-signed.